here we have an entire process of how linen is made. So first they take the flax, they break it with this, known as a flax break. Then they run that more refined but not completely refined flax through hetchels, and there's different degrees of it. There's I think there's medium hetchels, heavy hetchels, and then more like thin hetchels to kind of make it more refined. After that whole process, they spin it on this wheel and makes it very fine. And then the second part of this is going up to the second floor of the Washington Ward House, and then that way they can actually spin that into true linen rather than just like the more thicker linen from the flax. Next, we move on to the way that they would wash their clothes, which was typically in the pot, at least during the time that we are presenting. We have more modern washing machines, but the way that they would do it is by taking this large pot outside. They would heat it with water and then typically their own homemade soap, and then it would be an all-day affair where they're dumping in clothes, cleaning them, dumping the water, putting more water in, putting it back on the fire, so on and so forth. So it was a much more drawn-out process than it is obviously today. The last few things that I've typically brought up on tours is typically just this entire back wall section. Mainly in the case of how they would heat their beds, which is these selections right here. There's the stone bed warmer, the warming pan, and then what's called the pig bed warmer because of the look of the snout of a pig. And these would be used with hot water, and they would just, dump the hot water in, put it under their bed. This one, they would heat up the stone in like their fireplace or something, and that would be placed underneath. I believe this one had a higher chance of catching their bed on fire than those. And then lastly, what I could bring up is much more of the kitchen stuff. So really, as you can see, there's not a whole lot of changes from what we use today. For example, the baking pan looks like our muffins or cupcake molds, pudding molds, graters, both spice and probably cheese graters. The apple peeler obviously is a little different, but kind of the same process. The pans down here, scale almost the same, just maybe electric, and there's not a whole lot. Like even the ladles, skimmers, coffee mills, all vegetable slicer. Maybe instead of wood, we might have metal, steel, cast iron. Other than that, I mean, most of it is very similar. So, and then of course the biggest thing that trips people up is whenever I mention the butter churners, it'd be hand cranked or that one where you're more so pounding. This would be hours on them. Typically done by women, but sometimes men would do it too. But most of this was done by women, but of course that was just the time. So, but everything was more homemade than anything else.
Well, thank you very much for the tour.
Of course.
We definitely can notice that, like, the stuff that we have now,
yes,
that is bought at ye old Walmart,
yep,
will not last as long as this stuff is here.
No. Very typical stuff that they would use is cast iron.
Some of the best pots for cooking are cast iron.
Oh, absolutely. But of course now we just decide that we need to have lightweight things rather than anything heavy.
So do you honestly think they're going to be finding a steamer pot in 100 years from Walmart's in the ground somewhere?
I don't think so.
Probably not.
It's possible if it's kept in the right conditions. Very possible. Maybe where we are, probably not. But if it's maybe, I mean, I know there's not a lot of Walmarts in, like, let's say, Africa, the Middle East, and, like, the lower Mediterranean, but over there, possibly.
Well, a lot of those countries still have not walked away from this stuff. We did.
Correct. Yes. They have a lot of cast iron. They have a lot of homemade things. They grow a lot of their own fruits and vegetables. They absolutely do have like their own kind of way of doing it, which I find myself wanting to do in the near future when I have my own house and all that. And kind of going back to this way of doing things, I think it was much more simple and I think much better.
The effects are more so worth it
Oh, absolutely.
at the end of it.
Absolutely. I also think that this is just more sustainable. I don't have to buy as many
No.
pans. Like, if mine wears out in 10 years, guess what? That's another one I have to buy.
You know,
Here,
and
you know, it'll last until I'm dead.
yeah,
You
and
know?
some of this stuff, if you're crafty enough, you find yourself a blacksmith or something,
Oh, absolutely.
you can make your own.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. But like I said, most of this is very similar to what we have today. Just maybe a different material.
Thank you very much, Rendrag Selak. Thank you very much. Your
course.
name is again?
Danny.
Danny. Thank you for us. You are actually on the show. It's called Horrors of History. We're
Horrors
up
of
on
History.
YouTube right now.
Oh, perfect. I would,
Yeah.
I would definitely look at that. But yeah, as you can see, most of this is very similar to what we have, just a different material. That's the best way I can
It
describe
is.
it. So.
I'm going to move into some shade, lad. This building's cooking right now.
It
You're
is.
gonna see.
I'm very hot. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.